Starting. Hey folks, welcome to Your World with Prakash Kapila. Now you have a very important series that we are going through, and in this series we have come to a penultimate stage where we are talking about the financial reforms. So to give you a recap, around 1990, what happened was around 1991. PV Narasimha Rao was selected as Prime Minister of India, and there have been so many um, issues and uh, events that have led to PV Narasimha Rao's selection as a Prime Minister. So mostly we talked about the Mandal Commission that preceded PV Narasimha Rao ji, the Kashmir issue that also preceded Narasimha Rao ji, and the next thing we talked about is about the diplomacy between Pakistan and China, which every prime minister have to go through. They have to manage the situation that is given to them. Now comes the most important thing for which PV Narasimha Rao and Manmohan Singh are recognized is about the financial crisis, how they handled and how they overcome the financial crisis. So there is an important thing about the financial crisis, right? So in most of the financial crises, way upfront that you are in a crisis. For example, the housing crisis was there. So it was a years in making. So by the time around 2009, 2008, people understood that there was a overheating of the economy. The same case if you take recession in 1929 or depression in 1929, people understood that it was years in making. Like people understood the events happening over a period of time. But there is a unique thing about Indian financial crisis. Even after being selected as prime minister, even P.V. Narasimha Rao did not know that we were in financial crisis, because everything was covered up, everything was not known to the public. This happens only in few cases where your currency issue is happening, your fiscal deficit is too much. What is fiscal deficit? Fiscal deficit is basically what you are earning and minus what you're spending. So you're spending a lot, but you're not earning anything. So that gives you a big fiscal deficit. Most of the people also say the difference between imports and exports, right? So those when there is a lot of change in the physical deficit, all of a sudden, then you are in a doldrums of the currency crisis. United Kingdom has gone through the currency crisis. Malaysia has gone through it. Indonesia has gone through it. And when it came to India, we just had 4 weeks or 5 weeks of money to pay our salaries and other things. So this was the moment where nobody knew that this existed except like very few people. So even before PV Narasimha Rao came, Chandrasekhar government and VP Singh government were there. So they knew about the crisis, but they didn't tell to the whole nation that we were in crisis. So, and then all of a sudden, when PV Narasimha Rao became prime minister, he was looking at abyss, a deep valley where there is no recourse into the prosperity of the nation. So with us here, we have Ravindra Alapati Garu and we have Naga Srinivas Sisla Garu. And sir, introduce yourself to our viewers and we'll go ahead. Ravi Garu, please.
Yeah, my name is Ravindra Alapati. I'm a physician by profession, and I'm in Anaheim, California. My specialty is gastroenterology in medicine, and I have been in private practice for the last 25 years. And originally, I'm from India, state of Andhra Pradesh, and from Guntur district.
Awesome, sir. So 25 years you've been here and with a good practice. Thank you. Thank you for coming to the show.
No,
Uh,
thank you for inviting me. And I mean, as usual, every day is a learning experience, and I learn from you and the other panelists.
Look forward, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Naga Garu, please introduce yourself.
Namaste and Namaste. Hi, my name is Naga Srinivas Sisla. By profession, I'm a computer programmer. I work at Wells Fargo as a senior software programmer analyst. I live in St. Louis, Missouri. Thanks for giving this opportunity to talk. Thank you, Prakash Garu, and thank you, Dr. Ravi Garu.
Thank you.
Awesome, sir. So, what are your take about the financial crisis till 1991? What do you think have happened? What is your take on this, sir?
Let me just give you my view on a little bit background of economical view. Everybody, every adult person, I think, strives for economic growth, for a better standard of living for himself, his family, and his society. So that with economic growth, people can live longer, happier, and be more productive. Having said that, I would like, or I would want the audience to think a minute how it was maybe 5 decades ago. That is almost at the time of India attained its independence.
I mean, 7 decades ago.
Yeah, 7 decades ago. For example, in healthcare, the average life expectancy is half of what it is almost. In communications, I mean, wars are fought after peace treaties were signed. In technology, people have very primitive devices of recording. And in energy, people could not warm their houses in winter. And in transportation, many places you can travel as fast as a horse can gallop. And also in income poverty, it was almost like 1/5 or 1/6 of what we make of living. And compared to what it is now, I mean, income poverty has been reduced substantially, education has been improved substantially, and healthcare has been improved substantially, communications, technology. All these factors have improved so much that, as you can witness now, we are all in 3 different places. We can talk in real time, and we can record, talk, and do various modalities in real time. And in space technology, I mean, instruments are placed on Mars where they do daily experimentation, and which nobody talks about it because we take it as granted. So there has been so much of progress. And how did this progress happen? I mean, the world was almost in poverty, most of the world, before Industrial Revolution. And before Industrial Revolution, in economic terms, it is only the human capital, that is the labor, and what he produces is productivity. Now it is resources plus human capital and innovation. And that innovation has been the key to ameliorate or to improve economic growth and ameliorate poverty and contribute to poverty reduction. And that word of innovation, what it is basically a devising a new product or devising new services that are not there before, or using devices and using methods to produce the products that are already here and services here at a cheaper rate. So basically, any innovation should be upsetting and disorganizing the society, should create a dynamic disequilibrium, or to create a creative destruction, and not like a equilibrium with optimization. So keeping in mind this economic activity, innovation, most of the society engages in replicative activity. Replicative means a wholesaler.
Right. So, sorry to interrupt you, sir. around 1991, we had faced these financial trouble in India.
Yeah, I'm coming to that.
Right.
I just want to give you the background of what the economic growth is, okay? And uh, how, what are the ingredients to help in making this process? The ingredients are basically ideology. Ideology is like socialism, communism, capitalism. And the world has witnessed the fall of socialism and communism. And so we have to discuss about capitalism. And capitalism is not a singular word. It has different meanings in different societies. The reason why I'm saying that is to come to what India was at 1947, how it progressed every decade, and what the problems that happened in 1990. For us to better understand, we have to understand how it went through. And in capitalism, obviously in primitive societies, it will be oligarch capitalism, very few people control it. And then it becomes like a state-guided capitalism, where India was, in independent India, state-guided capitalism in the form of socialism existed. And then a big firm capitalism and entrepreneurial. The problems at that time, the ideology at the time of 1947 was very interventionist. That means the government is very actively intervening in economic policy. Very protective. That means the government wants to protect what it has. And it protects through a very complex mechanism of licensing, and then very in financial suppression, and it gave monopoly to certain firms for most of the items. That is a background of where 1947 existed. And that was because we were primitive economy. As the economy progresses through agriculture, through small manufacturing, through high manufacturing, through service sector, we were at the agricultural part of it. So the government has devised the 5-year plans. And this, in the 5-year plans, their motive was to produce low inflation with minimal growth rate. That is their agenda, low inflation with minimal growth rate.
So do you think
And
that pre-1991 was because of the policies that from 1947 till 1991 happened, and it was not properly implemented? Sir, what is your take, sir? Naga Garu, can you give your opening remarks? I think you're on mute, sir. Naga Garu, you're on mute.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Uh, well, I agree what Dr. Ravi Garu said so far. But apart from that, what I believe is there are major factors. I mean, there are so many factors lead to Indian economic collapse and slowdown in 1990. And I think from the independence until 1990, basically, I think ours is a closed economy. That means our Indian involvement in the foreign trade is very minimal. So because of that, and there are so many factors. I would categorize them as two factors: international factors and national factors. Because of those factors, our economy was on the brink of collapse in the 1990 before P.V. Narasimha Rao Garu went into prime minister. Like as Prakash Garu, you said in the beginning, I want to add few things to that. Like I read somewhere when PVG became prime minister back in June 1991. Then he called his cabinet secretary. I think at that time he's Naresh Chandra Garu. He called Naresh Chandra and asked Naresh Chandra ji, is our Indian economy like worst? Then is bad. That's what he asked. Then Naresh Chandra said, "Sorry, sir, it is not bad. It is worst." I think when PVZ is prime minister in June 1991, there are mainly three things. our forex reserves are just capable of running only 3 weeks. That means maybe like they are around like 2,500 crores or something. Just they last only for 3 weeks. That's all. And the second one is our external debit is 23% of our GDP. Our and internal debit is 55%. And so we are almost in brink of collapsing our economy. So I think the thing there is, like as I said, there are multiple factors because of this our Indian finance depression caused from independence until 1990. Like as I said, is international factors and national factors.
Okay, sir. Awesome. So, sir, Ravi Garu, do you want to complete your?
Yeah. See, Prakash Garu, one slight alteration in what you have presented is it is not that people hid it. All of a sudden, several factors came into play. In 1991, in the 90s, Middle East crisis came. And Middle East crisis is something the world has not expected, okay? And with that, what happened? Oil prices have skyrocketed.
Okay.
And with that, what happened? Internally, our production of crude petroleum ability, because the industry has been based on internal things, our industry was not able to increase the productivity of the crude petroleum, okay? So there is a gap between the price and our requirements, okay? So that is number one. Number two, not only that, the world as a whole, our exports to Russia and Russia's economy was down because of the Middle East crisis.
Right.
Our exports to United States, okay, where we are the biggest, US is the biggest trading partner in terms of value, and their economy, their average growth rate fell down from 3.5 to 2.5 and subsequently even lower. So our markets shrunk and our needs of import increased. And then what happened? Indian people, NRIs, non-resident Indian remittances also were of a substantial number.
Yeah.
And we could not remit those things. And also what happened, the quality of the debt. When you talk about quality of debt, debt can be divided into aid inflow, which was not there, and commercial, that is like International Bank for Development, they were not willing to give. So people have to borrow in the open market at a higher interest. Not only that, the quality, the long term became a very short term. Short term debt increases substantially.
Yeah, short term debt was the biggest problem. Yes.
Yeah, short term debt increased substantially because the reason short term debt increased substantially was when the debt matures, people are not willing to
Extend it.
extend that debt. Okay, so then on the top of it, prior to PV Garu's coming in, Rajiv Gandhi Garu lost the election, and then VP Singh Garu became the prime minister, and VP Singh Garu, there is a national unrest that is created, and then a caretaker government came. So people were not, the political instability, when there is a political instability, people will not be able to invest. And investment is in two forms. One is foreign direct investment, which is very, very negligible at that time, like 100 million or something like that, or even lower than that. And not only with the foreign direct investment, there is also portfolio investment. And portfolio investment is nearer to zero, okay? So you have portfolio investment, you have foreign direct investment, you have aid flows, you have borrowing at concessional rates that is gone, and you have foreign remittances that is gone. So all of a sudden, and the lack of export markets and improving need for increasing the import, that drained the foreign reserves more than anybody have expected. It's all of a factor adding factor. 1 + 1 is 2, but 2, yeah, it has become like a multiples. Okay, before it is only additions, now it has become multiples. So in that way, the reserves have become very minimal and running that has become a financial crisis.
Excellent, sir. Excellent. So the Rajiv Gandhi government that came into power around 84. So from 84 till 89, Rajiv Gandhi government was there. And from 89 to 90, it was 90, yeah, it was VP Singh. And 90 ending to 91 June, 91 May or June, it was Chandrasekhar. So it was hugely, unpopular governments in the before prior to PV Narasimha Rao's taking up, and there have been total unrest in terms of internal unrest in terms of Mandal Commission, Babri Masjid, and then riots happened, and then over top of that, like Ravi Garu was saying about the Gulf War. So in Gulf War, we were able to make some money by giving the international passage for our for the American fighter planes. But apart from that, the most important thing I think that led to this was a country should never go with a very short-term debt. Most important thing is for a country is to make that the short-term debt is only good for companies. It's not good for the country. A country should have a long-term debt that is going to mature over 20 years or a 30-year period. What is your take on this, Naga Garu and of course Ravi Garu? What do you think? I think the short-term debt was the most important thing that happened. So your take on this?
Yeah, sure, Prakash Garu. Um, So, like as Ravi Garu said, I want to add few more things. Like as I said, there are international factors and national factors basically. So coming to the international factors, rightly said Ravi Garu. See, at the time of 1990, the Soviet Union was dissolved. The Communist Party was no more there, and India is exporting 25% of its exports goes to the USSR, and all of a sudden that country was, what you call disintegrated. So so due to that, India's foreign reserves was reduced 25%, and because of that, it widened the payment deficit. Like usually it should balance your imports and exports, whereas your imports decline 25%, and whereas your exports is almost 100%. So there is a big imbalance because of that one. And the second one, like as rightly said, Ravi Garu, the oil crisis, because the Gulf War was started. The Iraq attacked Kuwait and Operation Desert Storm, all that started, and it affected. I don't want to go into that because Dr. Ravi Garu already covered that one. And the third one is, I think there is a global recession at that time, and that also affected our Indian economy during that time back in 1990, because all over the world there is global recession. So that is I think those are the main three factors in the international level which affected our Indian economy during 1990.
So, sir, Ravi Garu, your take on this, Andy, you have it. What is your take? Short-term debt.
Again, again, see, there was no opportunity for them to do anything different because, like,
But sir, from 85 to 90 on 85 to 90, we didn't have those problems. So at that time, we
I will
should have.
explain.
Yeah,
I will
go
explain.
ahead.
See, if you look at it, okay, that's why I wanted to give you the initial background of the policy. If you look at it, it all started in 1980, okay? 1980 to 85, 85 to 90, and 92 subsequently. In this 1980 to 88, there were several years, like especially the last few years, where the growth was almost like 7-8%. Okay, but that growth was financed by heavy public expenditure and by heavy borrowing. Okay?
Borrowing, and also I think they.
Public expenditure.
Yeah,
Public
right.
expenditure.
And
In public expenditure, The country was getting ready for defense, so a lot of defense equipment was spent. The wage commission was there, increased wages were there, okay, and that were contributing to those public expenditure. When you borrowed money for these things, and when you are not able, and when all these factors, political instability, world recession, increasing imports, decreasing exports, then there is no other markets. People go for aid market, people go for low finance market, people go for long-term debt, but nothing was available. Everything is shrinking. And people, NRS remittances were low. Not only remittances, they are withdrawing the money.
Withdrawing the money. Yeah.
They are withdrawing the money. So the government did not have um, uh, any other option to do that. And if you look at it, see, there is a fundamental difference in the Indian economy. If you look at, for example, US, Western Europe, China, they progressed from agriculture to manufacturing, okay? And whatever interventions that are used for manufacturing do not apply to service industry.
Right.
In India, it progressed from agriculture to service, not to manufacturing, okay? As a country, manufacturing is still very low, service is high. And in service, different factors play a role, okay? Different factors. Luckily, young people, I mean, educated engineers like you and the other Naga Garu, people like you have helped because you have come over and remittances have increased, and that took a that took a substantial part. Okay, like remittances increased to almost like 10 to 12 billion dollars a day, whereas aid was only like half a billion. Okay, remittances were high. Okay, when people are pulling their money back, the government did not have much other option. Okay, as in 1980, what all it started, your imports started to increase. So for your imports, why did they started to increase? Because it's a closed society, technology became obsolete, capital equipment became obsolete. Now you have to buy the capital equipment. Now you have to buy the raw materials, and the petroleum products, because of the Middle East war, have become sore. So that is why you are not able to borrow long term.
Sir, these are all the market dynamics that every country faces and every country faced. So, but before it going into the abyss, I think what also contributed, what majorly contributed was in most of our expenditure, we were buying more dollar. We were pegging the dollar and rupee on a certain basis. So we were trying to buy more dollars, and therefore the currency was kept stable. It was not allowed to be free flowed. That was the biggest problem. One problem I found. The other problem was that, like you said, there was no investment into the research and development that can again be funneled into this manufacturing sector. So we just directly jump from the agri-based industries to the service-based industries, leaving up the manufacturing as what it used to be, without much of the uh, progress in that. So the one thing I found very glaringly not up to the mark was that we had borrowed, instead of say 20-year borrow from 85, they should have got for 20-year borrowing. They just borrowed for 5 years. So the 5 years, usually any country usually borrows for a long-term debt, like 20 years, 30 years. If you're buying a home, you want to go for a 30-year home loan. In the same case, we did not pursue the long-term goals, and we were only looking at the short-term things, like say Sarkaria Commission, I think, was the one that created more salary-based expenditure. And then, of course, the Gulf War, there was a hit to the oil, but we were more we recouped it more or less because we were Chandrasekhar government. When Chandrasekhar government came, they started helping the American fighter jets to get fueled in the Indian air bases. So Nagagaru, so sir, we have 5 more minutes. So please, if you want to do some closing remarks, and then Ravi Garu can close off. So Nagagaru.
Sure, Rene. So I want to add that about that thing which we just discussed. I think basically there is excessive social, what do you call it, a social commitment, not social, socialist, excessive socialist commitment. For example, if you want to invest in industries, you need to buy a lot of machinery. So at that time, I'm talking about before 1990, our government buy those large machineries from German, UK, and US. In order to buy that, then they need to, spend a lot of foreign reserves. But and also the government invested a lot of money in the agricultural by borrowing money from them. So those are all the factors leading to the economic recession in 1990. And as Dr. Ravi Garu and Prakash Garu, you both said the political instability one. So I want to add one funny incident at that time I read somewhere. I think back in those days, 1991, I think people from finance ministry and people from RBI, they are talking to the IMF to get the loan at Washington DC. And I think at the time, I think Rajiv Gandhi withdraw the support to Chandrasekhar government, I believe so. So at that time, the IMF people are now whom we are representing. You, there is no government. So that is unfortunately we have as you guys said, there was a lot of political instability at that time. And one more thing, I would say. We lost a lot of international credibility. For us to get funds from the international credibility, like for example, I think at that time I heard there is our Indian government gave 47 tons of gold to Bank of England to get the 400 million rupees foreign currency to investing. So those are all the factors leading to the 1990 before 1990 depression. Those are all the different factors, and of course, the oil one, the Gulf War is the one of the major thing, and also main thing is our rupee was overvalued at the time, which is not in our hands because the monetary authority decides what rate Indian rupees. I think at that time our Indian rupee was 18 rupees against $1 back in 1990. But it was later changed because of P.V. Narasimha Rau's reforms.
Yeah, one of the major reform was to peg the
Devalue the
devalue the rupee. Yeah.
yes, they devalued rupee
Sir.
2 times. So and also and the one more major thing is I observed is what do you call their loss of making in public sector undertaking units, PS units. Those are sick units. They are not producing anything, but government is investing a lot of money in these. So these are all the factors, like as I said, those international factors and national factors. All those factors led to our Indian economy crisis back in 1990.
Awesome, excellent, sir. So, sir, Ravindra Garu, your closing comments, please. We just have 2 minutes.
Okay. See, the most important thing is for us, we made some economic growth, but we have to strive to spread that growth for the people who do not have it, the have-nots. And I think educating people financially from high school onwards should be a very important part of their curriculum. And people should be told, people should be taught that even though it is difficult, capitalistic attitude for the society would benefit all and lift the poverty more than any other system. So they should be made aware that ability to start a business should be easy, ability to close a business should be easy, financial channels should be developed, labor flexibility should be there, and most importantly, our activities should not be in dividing wealth, but our activities should be in creating wealth. And important to that is whatever is created okay, should continue to be created rather than take a monopolization attitude. And the rule of law and contract law are very, very, very important. And this should be part of the curriculum from 7th grade onwards for people to develop an economic sense to help others.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, guys, we are out of time. And this is the most important thing that we need to know, because if we know what were the important things that led us into the particular recession, then we will be in a position where we don't go into those things again and again. And we, like Ravi Garu has rightly mentioned, there are contractual obligations are the most important thing for any society to survive. And with this, we close this particular show, and we look forward for the next week's show, where we are going to talk about the currency reforms that have been introduced and industrial reforms that have been introduced, that are like core of the financial